Sweet.
Call to order for City of Cannon Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 17th. If I could get a roll call, please.
Gesme.
Here.
Grote. Here. Jepson.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Cronenberger.
Here.
Lundell. Montgomery.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could get a motion to approve of tonight's amended agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Lisa,
Second.
second from Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Gets us to public input. Public input is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the City Council. The public input will be no longer than 30 minutes in total length. Each speaker will have no more than 3 minutes to speak. Speakers may address topics relevant to the governance of the city. Speakers must sign up in advance and must provide their name, address, and the topic they intend to address. Comments must be on topic, respectful, pertinent to city business, and adhere to the applicable data privacy rules. Any speaker that violates these rules will be asked to sit down, and if the speaker refuses to comply, they may be removed from the meeting. Speakers shall not address topics that are the subject of a public hearing. All such comments shall be made at the public hearing. The City Council will not generally act on issues raised by the public input, but may choose to schedule consideration of the item on a future agenda. First off tonight, Greta, is it Bjerknes? Cannon Valley Fair Association. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Is the green light on? On the bottom of it. There we go.
Now it is.
There we go.
That work? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Good evening. As the mayor said, my name is Greta Bjerknes. I'm an attorney at Levander, Gillen, and Miller in Eagan, and I represent the Cannon Valley Fair Association. And I'm here tonight to address you about the proposed ordinance in front of you for first reading pertaining to the fairgrounds. In sum, we are asking that you deny the proposed ordinance that is in front of you tonight for first reading. And I'll go ahead and mention just briefly a couple reasons why. The Cannon Valley Fair Association has been and continues to be a partner with the city. We request the opportunity to work cooperatively with the city in any ordinance that pertains to its property. The draft that is before you tonight was not drafted in cooperation with the Fair Association. The draft was simply provided to me a mere couple of hours before the public hearing that was in front of the Planning Commission last week. Despite that, at the public hearing, the president of the Fair Association did speak at the public hearing and highlighted some of the many deficiencies that are in the proposed ordinance, and I'll highlight just a couple of those. One, there are incorrect parcel identification numbers for the fair property. It's not a major deal, and it appears that those PIDs have been corrected in the draft in front of you this evening. However, the ordinance does omit probably about 3 parcels of property that the Fair Association owns. Those are simply not included in the ordinance tonight. Second, the proposed ordinance prohibits the Fair Association from operating certain long-standing events during its annual fair. This was not the understanding of my client or me from what city staff was proposing to do with the ordinance amendments. The discussions between the city staff and the Fair Association pertaining to the racetrack have also not been properly incorporated into the proposed ordinance, and I think that was the impetus for the ordinance changes. And just as a brief reminder, the Cannon Valley Fair Association donated land to the city that now comprises the southerly portion of Hannah's Bend Park. The Fair Association donated easements to the city for permanent utility and drainage easements. No consideration was received by the Fair Association for those donations to the city. There are examples of other cities that have clean, simple ordinances pertaining to fair associations and racetrack operations. There are examples out there that we can use and learn from. There is a better solution than what is before you tonight. So we respectfully ask that you deny the proposed ordinance in front of you tonight and give us the opportunity to work cooperatively with you and the city to have an ordinance that satisfies what your planning commission would like, what you as council would like, and what my client, the landowner, would like. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Jim Hoffman to talk about the Cannon Valley Fair and the racetrack.
Hi, Jim Hoffman, 917 Park Street West. I'd like to thank the opportunity to speak yet again. Last Monday, excuse me, there was another public hearing in front of the Planning Commission. The recommendation was to not change any zoning. We have had 2 public hearings now, and both times the Planning Commission has voted unanimously not to approve any changes concerning the Cannon River Raceway. People to this point have been very respectful on both sides. I believe it's time the City Council finally acts and issues a cease and desist order, and not just a friendly cease and desist order as it was described last fall, which allowed racing to continue. We need a cease and desist order that will be enforced to whatever degree it takes to shut the racetrack down. I would like to dispel a couple of facts on topics that have been have had some misleading conversations. The first one is that the racetrack was given the go-ahead by the city last spring. This just isn't true. The other is somehow people that are not in favor of the racetrack are somehow not in favor of the fair. That again is just not true. If the citizens and the city leaders were against the fair, why would we annually donate to the fair board? And last year that was to the tune of $7,500. If the Planning Commission's closing comments last Monday, they spoke to the fair board and said that they needed to get back to their mission statement and go back to fair business. I wholeheartedly agree with the Planning Commission's advice. In closing, we need to get back to what's most important to Cannon Falls, and that's protecting the tax-paying citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And next up, Alicia Saladino to talk about the Swans.
Hello, I am Alicia Saladino. I first stood before the Parks and Public Works Board. It was last February, close to a year ago. Just asking a simple question. Who cares for the Swans? I didn't get an answer, so I asked again. And I asked again. Now I'm here. And I am reading from a petition drafted by Aaron Anderson, a pro bono attorney volunteer with the Animal Legal Defense Fund. And I guess I'm speaking for those that have signed the petition. We demand the following information be made immediately publicly available. The name and licensing information of the swan breeder whom the city of Cannon Falls purchased the swans, if these are captive bred swans, or if the swans are not captive bred, a copy of the license obtained by the city as required by Minnesota statute 97A.501, wild animals defined under 97A.015, sub D 39, to exhibit and possess special concern species like trump swans. The current diet and feeding schedule of the swans, this is our second demand. The current diet and feeding schedule of the swans and who is responsible for their care and feeding, along with that caretaker's credentials for such care. And the third, the number of swans that the city of Cannon Falls has purchased for exhibition in total over the years. I have copies of the rest. I can pass them around if you haven't seen the petition. This has become a real problem. It's getting cold. Swans can only live to about 20 below. We get 30 below here in Minnesota. So, and also, I have support also from, I'm sorry, let's see here. The Investigations Department, Minnesota Federated Humane Society. This petition asks that corrections are made by tomorrow. Other than that, I think I'll have my lawyer talk to your lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that gets us to tonight's consent agenda. Consent agenda items may be adopted under one motion as presented or may be removed for discussion and resolution as council business. I'll go through them tonight. We've got item A, just and correct claims for the accounting period ending December 12th, 2024. B, meeting minutes for December 3rd, 2024 city council meeting. Item C, resolution 2794, adopting the 2025 tax levy and budget. Item D, approved data center tax analysis engagement letter. Item E, introduction and first reading of ordinance 408, an ordinance amending Cannon Falls City Code regarding zoning related to cannabis businesses. Item F, approve new therapeutic massage license for Harmon Givens in 2025. Item G, resolution 2795, authorizing budget transfers for the year end of 2024. And item H, approve the request to apply for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. Is there anything the council would like to see pulled down to council business? Hearing none, I would recommend a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Lindell, second from Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Gets us to council business. Item A tonight, combined service pension bylaw changes, and Fire Chief Bryce Miller.
Good evening. Cannon Falls Fire, we would like to align ourselves with surrounding departments and add this combined service pension benefit. Essentially what it is if your vesting minimums, if both departments meet the vesting minimums, for our case, it would be 5 years. If we had a member that were to transfer, or we would accept the member, they would come on board with 5 years credit for vesting services. There are some rules that apply. Both departments have to have this in their bylaws. The member must be vested in, fully vested in the first, not fully, but partially vested in the first department. And it must happen within 2 years of leaving the first department. Really what this is it's trying to keep recruitment in the volunteer fire service.
Any questions for Chief Miller? I assume this is pretty standard, especially when you say numbers for recruiting and for firefighters.
Yeah,
so this is becoming universal.
Nationwide, volunteer fire service, we're facing a 6-year turnover, or 6% turnover every year, with a 7% call increase. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions from the council? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the combined service pension bylaw changes.
So moved.
We're going to give that to Ryan and the second for Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Moves us to item B, the Aqua Eye handheld sonar. Chief McCormick, if you would like to take this. Bryce, I know you said you've got to head out, but if you want to stick around for this one,
yeah,
totally
I'll
up to
stick
you.
around for this. Then I'll head out.
I'm glad to have Bryce stick around. This memo is really a joint request from Police Department and the Fire Department. As you know, on the 2nd, we responded to a missing person, 2nd of December. That led to several days of search to try to find him. Ultimately, we ended up recovering his body from the water. Unfortunately for us, it took us until Saturday to be able to do that because of the ice Tuesday, Monday night and Tuesday, and then this sub-zero cold that came in on Wednesday. We did not know about this tool. Fire chief described it as FLIR for water, and FLIR is short for forward-facing infrared thermal imaging. And about 15 years ago, I think fire department got that equipment, And, you know, it's a tremendous piece of equipment for them to use. It can identify where there's hot spots in a building, where there's bodies inside of a building. They used it that night that we were looking for the missing person, but it requires a heat signature from the person to find them. This device, we were able to get on Saturday. Rochester has 2 of them, and they were willing to send us 1. And the reason that they only sent us 1 was that they needed to keep 1 there just in case something happened in their community. So we lucked out one of their firefighters for us, also works for them, and he was familiar with it. So the fire department did sort of a just-in-time training, and we deployed that afternoon after lunch. The ice on the river by that point had freed up on a good chunk of the river, and so we deployed the Aqua Eye where we expected the body may be, and then we put firefighters in, for lack of a better term, Gumby suits. That's their cold water rescue suits, and they were going to walk down the river, and then they were going to swap places and do it again. As it turned out, they found the person upstream from where we suspected he went in, and were able to recover the body. But after learning about this device, we felt that it was something that would make a lot of sense and we should have. That day, after the body was located, they did bring the device up and did some training with it there, and it every time would find the body. And if you watch the video that was linked in the memo, it displays X's and O's. And so as you turn it, it'll put an X, and then you can turn it and get that X to line up, and so you can move in the direction where the body is located. And for us, the river this time of year is incredibly shallow, but it's got a lot of deep pockets. And that makes it challenging, especially when there's ice on top of it. The device comes, or has the ability to be operated with a pole that you could actually stick below the ice, operate it, bring it up, read it, and then know where you needed to go. So that's why when the fire chief and I talked, neither of us had a plan in our budget. We may very well have at the end of the year, as you know, we're coming up to the end of the year. We may very well have the funds available at the end. We just don't know, because all the bills are coming in, everything's in flux. When I asked Sarah and Michelle for some numbers, they both gave me numbers, but said, understand, bills coming in daily. So we don't know, this is the number as of this minute. The auditor was here today, and I had an opportunity to chat with him and cover, sort of what we were thinking. And what he told me was, we have a very healthy budget reserve. $10,000 isn't going to impact it. Now, we're not asking for $10,000, but that was a round number he used. And even if you take $10,000 out of that reserve, purchase this, at the end of the year, between our 2 budgets, we may have that kind of funding left available that just goes back into the general reserve funds. So I don't think it's, that you're throwing this money away. I think you're going to get partially replenished, if not fully. But at the same time, we'd be putting a tool in the hands of the fire department and or us that could be incredibly useful if we ever find that need again. I do not know if it would have made a difference between life and death in this case because of the time delay between when we determined that he went likely into the river and when we were on scene looking. But I would be much more comfortable in the future being able to bring closure to a family that evening as opposed to several days later. And that's why the fire chief and I so strongly felt that this needed to come forward to you guys now.
Questions or comments from the council for the chief, either Miller or McCormick? Go ahead, Diane.
I think it sounds like an incredibly good piece of equipment that indeed we should have. I guess my question is, did this go before the police commission for their input and discussion?
Nope, this has not gone before any commissions. This was just brought to you guys.
Okay, and I guess, not that I don't want us to get it, but I also like us to follow like correct procedure, and I thought most requests like this should have gone through the police commission before they came to the council.
I think it's a dual thing, because I think it's through the fire department.
Yeah, fire department as well. Would this go through the finance for spending, or, because police is usually personnel hiring, but.
I'm not
but
sure, Mayor.
It's a fair question, Diane. It's a-
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's one of those things where for the fire chief and I, you know, we were just looking at, this is something that we felt very strongly and made the request that it just be brought directly here as opposed to being delayed through committees, just because of the timing of the year.
Yeah, fair question, Diane. Any other questions or comments from the council on this item?
And just for understanding, this piece of equipment would be housed with the fire department. They would incorporate it into just their normal training. The training is something that can be accomplished pretty much as part of their routine. We wouldn't have to send anybody to Switzerland where this is made.
Have we then considered, I know you said we borrowed the one from Rochester. I assume none of the surrounding communities have one of these?
We had Dakota County assisting us. They didn't even know about it.
Okay. So have you, between the two of you, come up with some kind of a, I mean, so next thing that happens, it's the Randolph squad that's out, and if they want to use it, have we figured out a plan for sharing with other neighboring departments, or?
So we report all equipment to Goodhue County. They have a list of every piece of equipment we had. So if somebody from Dakota County were to contact Goodhue County Dispatch, they would be able to get that information.
And just like today, we had a truck fire just north of town. Meesville requested the Cannon Falls Fire Department. Those requests would come in and they would continue to be honored just as a mutual aid request. Obviously, it's a fabulous tool for our community, but if somebody asks, I would hope that we would make it available to help who's ever in need.
Yeah, tonight we're ice water training out at the lake, and that's, Wanamingo is joining us for mutual aid training, so, I mean, definitely mutual aid.
So,
Yeah.
Sarah, would that be something that we would, could transfer out of the general fund, but, like Jeff said, that maybe their budget would reflect a, ability to reimburse the city funds?
So we would just pay for it right out of the general reserve funds. And then if at the end of the year they have money, if that's what you would vote on, then we could transfer that to cover that.
I think it sounds like a good idea to get it. Handy piece of equipment.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you, Lisa. I'm not a fan of spending, you know, $8,000 to $10,000 just on a quick decision. However, and it's not the timeliness of the situation of the missing person. It's more, I thought more about our community, like Billsby, the river. We're not Rochester. I know they have two, but like you said, with our community and how many people are canoeing, tubing, swimming, fishing, Billsby,
Busy waterways here.
you know, second biggest city in the county. I think that this would be an okay purchase, and like the chief said, it's not to be free spending. It's to be, you know, replenished in the funds when possible. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve purchasing the Aqua Eye handheld sonar.
So moved.
Motion from Lisa,
Second.
second from Derek. All those in favor?
One question. Can we do what Sarah says and, you know, money from the general reserve to be replenished by police, fire, if any is available at the end of the year? Or-
We're general funds anyway, so that's where it always goes.
Okay.
But yes,
We'll make it clear.
Okay.
if you want to modify your motion to that effect, it has really no bearing on how we function. But that would, you know, maybe make it easier for Sarah in their operations.
Sure.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Brings us to item C, Cannon Valley Fair. Zach?
So what council is voting on tonight is a ordinance amendment relating to the Cannon Valley Fair. What is being proposed is a rezone of the fair property to a new fair fairground zone, which will allow the city to lay out a list of permitted, accessory, interim, and prohibited uses along with corresponding conditions. This new fair zone would be specific to the fairgrounds property and would give the city authorization to put restrictions on events that occur within the fair, such as racing events. So,
Shelley, is there anything that you would like to preface this by?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also in the packet is a companion resolution with findings if the council determines to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to essentially deny making the suggested changes to the zoning ordinance at this time. So it's, we've provided two paths for proceeding with appropriate memorialization in the record.
All right. Questions, comments from the council? I don't know if we need a ton of discussion, considering,
I was gonna say it, the fact that planning commission, it was unanimously denied and the fair itself doesn't
Asking
appear
for-
to want it.
right,
I don't see why we would go ahead with it.
yeah. I would accept a motion to deny. Steve, go ahead.
I need a little bit of clarification. Because what's in front of us tonight in our packet is a little bit different than what we had at the planning commission, correct?
Yes.
So if we just went ahead and approved what the planning commission, not approved, but we denied the the
Zoning change?
zoning change. So tonight, to word it correctly, if the council agrees on the same thing, do we vote to approve the denial or deny the,
Request.
You saying a double negative? Deny
Triple.
the denial?
There were three in
There's
there.
a few more? Yeah.
Actually,
No, we understand you totally.
yeah, that is an excellent question. And so to make this a clear process, there was before the Planning Commission a suggested ordinance, which is required in order to amend your zoning code. You must do that by ordinance. That's what the Planning Commission unanimously rejected and recommended to the council that you do not pass that. You can always override the Planning Commission, their recommending body. So that ordinance is still in your packet. But what I would, if you're not amenable to changing the code and you want to go with what the Planning Commission did, I've included a resolution with findings. So the motion I would recommend is to approve the resolution. Zach, did we put a number on it?
No, I don't think so.
Or if there's not a number on it, that's fine, but it's a resolution denying an ordinance amending the Cannon Falls City Code relating to the Cannon Valley Fair. And what that does is create a written record with findings supporting your denial, and it is essentially, Councilmember Gesme, an acceptance of the Planning Commission recommendation, just more substance to it.
Shelley, do you have a page number? That's, I know Sarah's,
If you wanted a packet,
gotcha.
and then it would be Resolution 2796 is what it would be. Thank you, Sarah.
You said 2796? Got it. Resolution denying an ordinance amending Cannon Falls City Code relating to the Cannon Valley Fair. So we would be approving the resolution that denies. All right?
I'm gonna make that motion.
Motion,
9-6.
I will second.
motion from Steve, second from Diane. Any further discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2796, resolution denying an ordinance amending Cannon Falls City Code relating to the Cannon Valley Fair, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. That gets us to reports. Chamber of Commerce, Maggie.
Right. Good evening, council and mayor. Just a couple things for me tonight. We're a couple weeks out now, but we did wrap up a very successful Deck the Falls in November. Despite the cold, we had a great turnout for it, and I just wanted to thank a couple people, obviously the community, for all coming out and braving the cold weather and supporting Cannon Falls and our small businesses that day. Thank you to our Public Works Department for all the help and work that they do leading up to the event and then the day of the event. The Cannon Falls Police Department for helping with traffic. Fire Department allows us to use the fire department building in a couple rooms in there to store our stuff and prep for Deck the Falls. And also all of our sponsors, our community sponsors, our business sponsors, and then the City of Cannon Falls for being a sponsor for Deck the Falls. Next up, we have our Chamber Annual Business Recognition Event, January 8th, and I invite all of you to attend. This invite goes to current council members, incoming council, outgoing council, any city staff. We encourage you to attend. It'll be at the winery January 8th, starting at 5. We recognize our businesses, talk about the accomplishments of 2024, and then John, our new city administrator, is going to be speaking that night. I just ask that you RSVP to me by January 3rd. And then lastly, I just wanted to encourage the community to really think about our small businesses this small business season and this upcoming winter. Please shop local if you can. As we go into the winter months, things get pretty quiet around Cannon Falls. Things slow down a lot, and it really does make an impact when people shop and stay local. So just a little plea for our community and surrounding members to do that. So anything for me tonight?
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie.
The EDA met on December 5th. Laura, if you would go through that with us, please.
It's hard for me to even think back that far, and it probably wasn't that long ago. I'm trying to think. We continue to sell lots in Hardwood Estates. I believe we've got 2 single-family lots that are not under some type of contract at this point, so that's pretty great. There are 2 models available for touring. And Timber Ridge, they also have 2 models that are available up, formerly Sandstone Ridge up by Cedar Hills. They do have 2 models that are available for touring up there as well. And Lisa Lundell you can connect with her if anyone wants to tour those. So yeah, I'm shocked that people are still buying and wanting to build at this time of year. You'd think they'd have different focus, but that's exciting for us, I guess. So we will be working pretty frivolously on getting the next phase started as soon as we possibly can with WHKS. Otherwise, John Dahl, our EDA chair, will be retiring, so we will have an at-large seat open on the EDA. So if anyone's interested, we do have applications here at City Hall. I think there's also some other boards and commissions that are also seeking positions, so you can get those at City Hall here if you're interested. Otherwise, I'll just echo what Maggie says. It's really important to support. Anytime that you go to Amazon or go to an e-commerce site, think twice and think if you can maybe buy it in town instead. I think you'd be shocked at how many fantastic gifts you can buy right here in town, and I would really think and hope that you would support our business owners instead. So, and thank you to Maggie for a great Deck the Falls, and Merry Christmas to all of you.
Thank you, Laura. Public Works and Park Board also met on the 5th.
No, they didn't.
Oh, it was canceled? Those were canceled? All right. Did the Library Board meet on December 9th?
Very, very briefly.
Good.
We did the stakeholders meeting instead, which was cool. So I'm glad I was a part of it.
Awesome. Planning and Zoning Commission, which I know that we dealt with the fair situation. That was in that meeting. Was there anything else from that meeting that?
Nope.
Nope.
Cannabis and fair.
Cannabis and fair.
Cannabis, yep.
There you go. Joint Powers Trail Board, December 16th. Did that happen?
Yes, by Zoom. Quickly.
Zoom.
Yeah, we just had to discuss mile 14 and 16 slope failure again.
All right.
Still feeling.
There you go. All right, we'll go around the horn. Jed.
Mayor and council, there's a chance of snow Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We might get plow trucks out, to actually plow snow and not just spread salt and sand. Just heads up to everybody that, driving conditions, I know things have been mild last year and so far this year, but please slow down. Also, my public works guys are going around, since the weather has held out, we're removing as many ash trees as we can through different parks and whatnot. So I get a lot of calls about ash trees and boulevards and whatnot, and we are trying to get to them, but we want to focus on one area at a time so we're not just popping all around town. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Zach?
License renewals for 2025, almost everybody's turned them in who had a license last year, but if you're a business in town and you're watching this and you sell tobacco or liquor, please give it to me by this week, and then the cops can do a background check and I can get it off to the state and it'll be all good, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Laura?
I just wanted to thank Councilperson Gesme and Grote for your time and service. And Steve, you've been on our EDA for a bit, so I just want to thank you for your input and support. And also welcome our new city administrator, John. I know he's a little under the weather today, but it's been really great getting to know him over the last week. So I think he's a great addition to our city.
Yeah.
And I know Neil's not listening anywhere, but but just a great mentor he's been to me over the last 4.5 years. So that's it.
All right. Chief?
So I'm going to build on a couple of things from that side of the room. Snow. So if they do come out to plow, I want to remind people to get their vehicles off of the city streets. We try to clear the streets before Public Works comes in so that when they plow, they're very efficient. They don't have to come back. That isn't always possible because in addition to doing that, we have to do whatever calls for service we get. So sometimes we may get half the city cleared and not the other half for cars on the roadway. But we just ask everybody to try to get off. There is parking down in the city lots. It's signed, no permits required. But if you can't get off the road, you may get a ticket and you may get towed. And we don't want to do that. But we also understand that, for Public Works, they need to be able to get out there and clear those streets without that obstacle of vehicles. It makes it more challenging for them in many ways. Then I will touch on what Zach talked about with licenses and just remind any of our businesses that still need to get their licenses in. It's behooved upon them to do so rapidly because it's got to go to the state, get approved, and we get notified. Because if we don't get notified, you will not have a license to operate, especially our liquor establishments, on 12/01 New Year's Day. And we do not want to have a violation that we have to bring back before the council for selling without a license. So make sure you get those in. Zach's pretty diligent about getting them to my staff so that we can do the required background checks and investigations we need to do. But understand, once we get them done, they have to go to the state before they become official.
What's the normal turnaround time every other year?
State?
Yeah.
I don't work for the state.
Well, but so what's the day that you would tell our local businesses to get it to you by, other than as soon
Friday.
as possible?
Friday?
Okay.
If
All
we don't
right.
have it by Friday, understand the state's going to be closed for at least 2 days next week.
Yep, middle of the week. You got it. So
Then they're going to be closed for another day, New Year's Eve usually. So just, you want to get them in.
they've been put
Zach
on notice.
really works hard to make sure that people comply and get them in, but at the end of the day, it's on the owners, right? They're the ones that need to fill out the paperwork correctly. And if they don't, and the state catches it, they're not going to issue the license and really not care. But we do, and we try to help them get there. So that's why I want to make sure we get that message out to get your stuff into Zach.
All right.
Then, for the outgoing council members, it's been great working with you for the last 2+ years. It's interesting, the dynamics that occur when, councils seat and everybody's trying to figure out how the process works, but you guys have adjusted very rapidly to it. For those that are staying, I continue to look forward to working for you with at least the 2+ years. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Sarah?
No, I think I'm gonna pass.
You're going to
tonight.
pass? All right. All right.
Oh, no.
Shelley? All right. Laura?
I'll just reiterate, it's been good working with the folks that are leaving, and I'm staying. But no, that's it.
All right. Lisa?
Thank you to everyone who voted for me. I highly encourage people to run for city council. It's a very eye-opening experience, and I've learned so much. I appreciate you city people so much. You have no idea. So be kind. That's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ryan?
It was nice working with you, Derek.
Yeah.
Well,
Steve?
Yeah.
All right. Derek?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it's my last meeting after 6 years. Obviously, thanks to the community for trusting me and voting for me. I think we're in good hands. We have good people running the city. I think John will be good if he's feeling better. Yeah, like Lisa said, get involved, come to meetings, run for something, because what you find out is things aren't always so cut and dry. It's easy to sit and read the Beacon or the Facebook forum and
On the
say,
open forum.
what are these idiots doing? Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they listening? Things aren't always black and white, I guess, is what I'm saying. So thank you to the community, and thanks for all you guys.
Thanks, Derek. Diane?
And I have to go back on to thanks Derek and what's your name again? The other Steve and Lisa. It's been great serving with you, even if I had to sit between two of you, I don't know. But, and welcome to John. And as I think they all said, it's different when you have to make the decisions than when you just get to complain.
Right.
But you can complain up here too.
Steve?
Well,
What, you mean, what's his name?
I had to write notes because I'm not very good at this, but 6 years I've been on the council, it's went by like a blink of an eye. There's been sleepless nights. We've had many successes. A lot of it I attribute to Laura. We got housing developments. We got a new apartment. I know there's yeses and nos about that. I thought when I came in, there was a few things that I wanted to help change. It's not easy changing. It's not easy changing. It's just an ongoing battle. I've been called a puppet, a good old boy. I've been called unqualified by a failed business owner. I still stuck it out. I still came every couple weeks. I've lost friends. I've alienated relatives. I had a complaint filed against me because I hurt someone's feelings. But I also had the opportunity to meet fantastic people in the community. Our support staff, the staff in the city is top notch. I have nothing to compare it to, but I don't think there's a better staff I could work with ever. They always answered my calls. Judd? I figured if I was half right, that would be, in baseball, that would be 500. I don't think I'm going to be elected to an all-star game, but to all the council members that I've worked with, we've agreed to disagree, but we've done it on a respectful basis. Not everyone ever left here at night happy. But people ask me if I ever regretted starting in this thing 6 years ago, and I said the same answer every time. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah. Right, no 3-minute rule for us. It's just for the
sorry.
public input.
Sorry about the rambling.
That's a hard act to follow. That's a tough one. I do want to say welcome to John. I hope you feel better quickly, John, but John, I think, is going to do a fantastic job here for our community. I I know that he is smart as a whip when it comes to the numbers. I think the budgeting is going to continue to be, we are not free spenders here. I think that he is going to keep a very tight book and a nice budget. I think he has a great vision for the future of Cannon Falls. I'm not going to waste a ton of time saying goodbye to Neil because he's not here tonight, but I do want to remind the council that, saying goodbye Friday, December 20th, noon to 1. I believe that's open to the public at City Hall, or if people want to wish him well. He's definitely going to be, but reminder, at least to the council, if you can make it, please do. I think that he's going to be, he's ready to, I wouldn't be surprised if he does the Minnesota goodbye. We'll keep him here for another couple months. The Irish goodbye, he might be saying, I'm out of here, see you later. So that hour might be all we get.
He might Zoom.
Yeah, he might, right, just to say goodbye. Like Laura had said, John Dahl, president of the EDA, his term is up. I want to say thank you to John. He's a tremendous person. He's been so kind to the community, and the EDA has done so much. I think the word that was used to describe the housing development was ecstatic. We could not ask for things to be going better than they are right now. I know you sit here and say there's only 2 lots left for single-family homes. Similar developments in towns our size can take years, and ours is like on rocket speed right now. And I remember it was John Dahl who sat at that meeting and said, we can either take action and do something, or we could be sitting here for 5 years and be saying the same thing. And we took action, and it's been successful, and I'm proud of that, and John should be proud of that too. Bruce Hema, Planning and Zoning Commission. How many years did Bruce serve the community? And so he's officially retiring. I want to say thank you to Bruce. He was tremendous on the planning and zoning. And then there's a gentleman for the trail board. I'm sorry that I don't have the name. Is it Korkowski?
Paul Korkowski.
Yep. He's also stepping down.
Correct.
So to all the people, if you want to be involved, civic involvement is needed to keep a community alive, to keep things working, to keep things running. We need people. I know Jim Hoffman is interested in joining the police commission. To the new council members, I hope that you guys are willing to jump in head first and serve the community like these council members have. John and I have already talked about, this is the kind of job where there is no orientation. This is like you have to dive in and learn on the go. We are going to try to have a meeting in January so we can get to know each other a little bit better, but also so you can get to know the department heads. And like Derek and Steve, like the getting to know what we do and seeing the inner workings, that meeting I think is very important. Then I strongly encourage people, if you've never gone, League of Minnesota Cities events. I think they're held in March for newly elected and for people who have been longer serving. They have meetings of both kinds so that you can learn more about your job, your duty, how things go, even the little stuff. I remember they did a skit about Robert's rules and public input and how to be polite and not be stuck on your phone, even when you're doing the 3-minute timer and going through the agenda and emails. You still have to be polite to the general public and your citizens. So I definitely encourage you to do that. To the council members, I just want to say thank you. I mean, you're my ride or die friend, so this isn't like goodbye. Steve, I know that I'm going to run into you at the coffee shop, and Lisa, I know I'm going to see you at Althoff. So, but I do want to share just one last thing. I remember before we graduated high school, they said, you don't realize the group that you're with until they're gone. We'll see each other. We'll still be friends. We're still going to work together for a few more years, but this is it. And from the dais, like you had said before, doing this job, there's very few people that get to do this. And it is a privilege because we've earned the public's trust, but that also has the negatives. And all of you have sat up here and got to see it, the good and the bad. But when we adjourn tonight, it's the end of this council. I wish you guys the best. Like I said, we will not be strangers. We'll see each other. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
From Derek.
Second.
And from Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.